Essentially, when the Islamic Association for Palestine, or IAP, was disbanded, they just morphed into an entity, a similar entity of a different name, and that would be the American Muslims for Palestine. The American Muslims for Palestine, AMP, funds Students for Justice in Palestine, and that's the group where Samira, who is currently a delegate in the Virginia legislature, was very active, correct?
That's right.
All right,
and
so
it's not just that. Yeah, please.
No, please go ahead. I want you to lay this out. So his father was a board member. He was a chairman, actually, of IAP's board of director. But his father also has a sketchy history. He was actually in the United States illegally, correct?
That's right, Liz. So Sabri Samira, which is the delegate's father, was in the United States initially legally on a student visa, which the court documents from the case I just referenced said that he then overstayed for a number of years. It's long enough, in fact, that the delegate Samira was born here in the United States to him. But Sabri Samira, in 2002, traveled to Jordan to visit, I think it was his ailing mother. He left with the knowledge and permission of the U.S. government, who knew he was in the United States illegally, and the idea was that he would have a way to return and continue the immigration proceedings upon his return. However, the Department of Homeland Security in 2001-2002 deemed, maybe because of the things that we've laid out here, that he was a security risk and refused to allow him to return to the United States. So from 2002 to 2010, Sabri Samira, the delegate's father, stayed in Jordan. Now, it's not like he was taking a break from involvement in American politics and waiting it out. He was exceptionally active in Jordanian politics. He appeared on Al Jazeera a number of times. He ran for public office, and he was also identified as the spokesman for the Islamic Action Front, which is a political arm of Jordan's Muslim Brotherhood.
Right, and all the while, too, I believe in one of the interviews with Al Jazeera, Samira, and this is Samira the father, called for the Jordanian military to attack Israel. He called for attacks against Israel. He wants to obliterate Israel. And then Samira the son, who was the Virginia delegate, said that he was inspired by his father. I mean, this is great reporting on your part, Michael. I think it's very clear there can be almost no argument made that this member of the Virginia legislature, is active in virulently anti-Semitic, not to mention anti-Israel causes. It's shocking that he even got this far, but he's up for re-election this year, I believe.
That's right. He's up for re-election in June, and he won his initial special election in February with about 60% of the vote. The Republican he was running against was an Air Force veteran, and there was a third-party candidate who got about 9% of the vote as well. And the thing is, during that special election, reporting found that he'd made a number of what were considered anti-Semitic comments on Facebook in 5-year-old posts at the time. They were posts that compared Israel's soldiers to worse than the KKK. When Israel's former prime minister passed away, he said that he should burn in hell. And these are comments critical of Israel, but Samira received apparently sufficient backlash from his prospective constituents that he put out a message apologizing for the pain he had caused, but he defended these comments as the inflamed and impassioned comments of a college student. Now, some of these comments are much more recent. His participation in AMP's conference in 2017 is very recent, and the fact is that we've reached out to him for comment, and there's been folks asking publicly for comment from him today, and he hasn't replied.